Hello, hello, and welcome back to the Bleacher Preachers podcast. It is League Championship Series in Major League Baseball, and we got the Final Four set. It's Johnny here with Alex.
Hello, everyone. I'm sad to see my team out of it.
And emerging from the Bat Cave, parts unknown, is Rob.
What up?
Apparently he was in Gotham for a little bit, but still never got my answer of how he climbed out of that hole and got all the way to Gotham. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Like I said, we are in the league championship portion of the playoffs now. The Los Angeles Dodgers moved on to face the Milwaukee Brewers on the National League side, and that's where we'll get started. Alex, first question I want to ask you is, do you think the Dodgers were necessarily worried about getting past the Braves?
I don't know. The Braves were scary there. I mean, the one game that they did win, they almost didn't win it, right? I mean, it was a late comeback by the Dodgers to kind of make it scary there. But no, I'm not surprised. I think it was bound to happen. I mean, the Braves are just too young at the moment. They just are. So in that sense, I think it's good for them that they lost. They're going to take it as a learning experience. They're going to use this, and they're going to get better for next year, which is
with the Braves at the beginning of the season. Everybody thought that they were still a year or two away. The timetable kind of moved forward this year, and it looks like they're a year or two ahead in schedule. So they made the playoffs. That's a win, since nobody really expected them to make the playoffs. So and the thing with the Braves is one of the questions was starting pitching, and you could kind of tell that they were overmatched starting pitching wise in the LCS or at LDS.
And I think that's where we were impressed with the Braves, is that they were able to make it, to the playoffs with a lot of their young arms still up and coming. So future is still pretty bright in Atlanta. But looking at the Dodgers, after a slower start, they kind of get back on track here, make some big midseason acquisitions that made some noise here in the playoffs so far. So you have the likes of Manny Machado, who's been hitting the cover off the ball right now, and this is his first taste of the playoffs. And just to kind of get your guys' thoughts on this, do you think this playoff run will be enough to keep Manny in LA?
No, I don't think so. There's not really a position for him. The only way that he stays in LA is if Corey Seager is behind schedule or something, sets him back in his Tommy John surgery. Corey Seager should be back 2 months into the season, I want to say. I don't remember, because he got hurt fairly early. Tommy John is not like a pitcher to where he's going to need a full 12 months, 18 months or whatever to get back. He should be able to pick up a bat and start swinging 6 to 8 months. It's throwing from shortstop and making those throws. But, with Turner at third, Seager at short, and they have Chris Taylor who they can play at second. They have Dozier's an upcoming free agent, so who knows if Dozier's going to be back or not. They got a Muncy at first. The infield kind of looks set.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, just to give my take on it. I agree with Rob. I think Machado walks and goes somewhere else.
No, and the reason I bring up Manny is because I think he was a missing piece that the Dodgers needed for their run to the World Series last year. I just think right now he can be their difference maker. But on the other side, looking at the Milwaukee Brewers, they kind of did a flurry of transactions at the deadline to where, me and Rob were looking back at some of our past recordings throughout the season where we weren't exactly sure what the Brewers were doing by bringing in some out-of-position guys and then just kind of throwing people wherever. But here they are. Christian Yelich went on an absolute tear through the postseason, the end of the regular season into the postseason. So I know Rob's feelings about the city Milwaukee and the baseball team. So Alex, looking at what the Brewers are standing with right now, do you think they have a chance to upset the Dodgers?
The momentum wise, I'm giving it a little bit over to the Brewers, just because they swept the Rock. Well, no, yeah, they did.
Yeah, they swept.
The Rockies.
And then the Dodgers actually lost one game to the Braves, which isn't a big deal, but at the same time, the way that the Brewers dominated the Rockies was impressive. There were some shaky moments there for the Dodgers. Nothing overly crazy, but something that kind of made them go like, oh snap. Now I'm going to give the edge actually to the Brewers instead of the Dodgers. So yes, I just love Moustakas, Yelich, Kane, and I think the biggest question for them is just can their pitchers keep dominating? Because they brought Hader out of the bullpen and he shut down everything that the Rockies were trying to do. I mean, I think in 3 games, the Rockies scored 2 runs.
They scored 2 the first game, right, where they lost at the walk off, and then I know they got shut out in game 3. I don't remember game 2.
I think it was like 3. I think that game was like 3-1 or something like that. So I mean, the Rockies' offense was stifled 100%, and even at Coors Field, which is something surprising to see. So I'm going to give the edge to the Brewers. Also, I think it's a little bit cooler of a story if the Brewers make it to the World Series, but wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers make it back there.
If this series goes 6-7 games, I give the edge to the Dodgers. The Milwaukee needs a quick series. They're gonna lean heavily on their bullpen. Josh Hader might throw 2 innings per game, and that's just going to eat at his arm. He's not going to be 100% by the end of the series. Jeffries, Knable, they're gonna get a ton of innings and a ton of work. The starters, I mean, Gio Gonzalez, Julius Chassin, guys like that, like you really don't, you don't see them going deep into games. So if the Brewers have any trouble offensively and the games go long, the games go deep, and the series is extended, I'm giving it to the Dodgers just because I think they have better starting pitching. I think the Brewers have the better bullpen, but the bullpen is going to be taxed all 7 games if it goes 7.
Now, what I'm looking at this series is I don't even think pitching is going to make that much of an impact because these are loaded offenses 1 through 8 to where you'll see a lot of games going to 7, 8, 9 runs. And, Rob had mentioned the Brewers bullpen being a little bit deeper than the Dodgers. You saw both bullpens, struggle throughout the season to where you didn't know if Kenley Jansen still had it for the Dodgers. The Brewers couldn't find someone to consistently close out games. And, to your guys' point, it's how much can each team get out of their pitching. What I'm seeing is one team has Clayton Kershaw where the other doesn't, and having a top tier ace like that who has kind of put some playoff demons behind him, I think Kershaw is going to be a big difference maker here for the Dodgers. With that being said, though, for the Brewers, are they ready for this moment? A lot of these guys, this is their first exposure to the big times. With the exception of maybe Moustakas, who was on the Kansas City team that made a run a few years ago.
Kane.
Lorenzo Kane as well. It's funny when you think about it. You wouldn't expect them to be in this spot because, it's Milwaukee. It's a smaller market team. They've always been kind of, one of those under the radar guys. But now here they are, center stage of baseball. Are they ready for prime time? And that's my biggest concern is, are they going to be able to handle the moment? Are they going to be able to step up when, it's, bottom of the 8th or top of the 9th? And, we're looking at a 1-run game or a tie game here. Some guys, they tend to grip the bat a little bit tighter. They, get a little tentative in that situation. So I'm going with the experience here. I think the Dodgers will end up disposing of the Brewers in 6 games.
Yeah, I think it goes 7. I honestly think it goes 7. I think Milwaukee takes care of business at home. I think the Dodgers take care of business at home. Yeah, Milwaukee has home field advantage. I do think Milwaukee's going to take care of most of the business at home, except the start against Kershaw. Kershaw looked fabulous in round 1. 8 innings, no earned runs, I think 12 strikeouts. So Kershaw's going to be the difference maker, but there's a lot of lefties in that Dodgers rotation. I think that's going to stifle a lot of Milwaukee's offense. Yelich, Moustakas, Shaw, a lot of lefties that contribute in that Milwaukee lineup. And I know they still got a lot of righties that do damage. Scope, who's been hit or miss this season, and Kane's been phenomenal. Kane's going to be a top 5 MVP. He put in a top 5 MVP season, and Ryan Braun, who's terrible, but and Jesus Aguilar's had a really good year too. So a lot of they're really well versed lefties and righties, but a lot of their big time guys are on the left side. Once you start getting down to that 7th, 8th, 9th, spots in the lineup, they're going to be able to get shut down.
Yeah, I mean, you guys can convince me. You guys are trying to convince me to go with the Dodgers, but I'm going to stick with the Brewers. I think I'm going with Brewers in 6. I don't know. I just like the way that team is made up, and I guess maybe I just have Dodger hangover, but it's just going to be nice to see if there's a fresh team that can make it to the World Series. No, I agree for MLB's sake that the Dodgers should make it. That's a huge market. So
now, a point I do have about the LCS and the World Series format I want to pose to you guys is obviously it's a best of 7, but the way the games are shaped up, it goes 2-3-2 as far as home and away here. So we're getting 2 games in Milwaukee, 3 in LA, then 2 back in Milwaukee if necessary. So do you guys approve of this format? Do you think they need to go back to 2-1-1-1, or is this really an advantage if we're getting 3 straight games in LA after game 2?
Yeah, I would 100% go back to 2-2-1-1-1. I know there's more travel and there's more flights and whatnot, and you're flying from Milwaukee to LA and LA to Milwaukee, but I think it's a little bit better if we take a little bit more off days and a little bit more travel time and go back to 2-2-1-1-1 instead of 2-3-2. The series could end in LA. We get a Kershaw start in Milwaukee, and then we get 3 in LA. That might be 4 wins right there.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I think at that point, what is home field advantage really? Is it really an advantage, right? So
there's a lot of pressure on Milwaukee game 1 against Kershaw, because if they don't win that game and they split 1-1 and it goes to 3 games in LA, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to get back to Milwaukee for game 6.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so I'm going for the Dodgers in 6. Ron Cal saying the Brewers in 6. Rob, who's your pick?
Dodgers in 5.
Dodgers in 5. All righty.
I know earlier I said 7 games, but now thinking about the home field advantage, it's either Dodgers in 5 or Dodgers in 7.
And whenever I think about it, it's when you have power reliant offenses, kind of like the Brewers are, those tend to die off fairly quick in the playoffs. And I think that's why I'm a little hesitant to really entrust the Brewers, because we've seen it before with guys that had incredible regular seasons or a lot of power numbers. They just have an outage in the playoffs. Guys pitch to them differently, and they're not getting the matchups they like. So I'm not really sold on the Brewers' ability to have that much of a power surge, if you know what I'm saying.
It kind of hurts because they were on a roll. They won 8 straight to end the season. They won game 163 to win the Central. They swept the Rockies, and now they haven't played in 6 days. So there's some cool off there. When you're going in and out, day after day, game after game, and you're on a roll. But now, it's been a couple of days they haven't played. They dispatched the Rockies really quick. That could play a factor too,
Yeah, agreed. I think sometimes that is a huge disadvantage, but it's also what they do with it. I think it's also a mentality thing. So we'll see. I think it in the end it will kind of hamper them game 1, but after game 1, if they can just kind of keep that momentum going, that's going to work out in their favor.
And my last point about this series, well, playoff baseball in general up to this point, do you guys like seeing playoff baseball in the middle of the afternoon? doesn't that just seem a little odd to kind of stick a playoff game at 2:00 on a Wednesday?
Yeah, that makes no sense. There should be a 5 o'clock game and then a 7:30 game, and that should be 7:30, 7:30 every night. You have like a West Coast team, like there's an AL and an NL West. You could start a game at 7:30 Pacific time.
I think what the MLB is trying to do here is just not compete with other sports, which right now it's really just football that they're competing with. So I mean,
well, nobody watches the Thursday night games anyways.
Hey, I just watched one. All right.
I feel worse now because you did.
I do feel terrible about that. But no, what I'm trying to say is that I think they're just trying to not be, I guess that, I mean, primetime games are exactly what they need to be doing, but they're not going to, because they know that if the Dodgers are playing or the Rams are playing, people are probably going to watch the Dodgers or probably going to watch the Rams. I don't know, because it's football and they're 5-0. So.
All right, that's the last point I want to make, and well, we've delayed the inevitable enough. So, on the American League side of things, we have the Houston Astros, who very quickly disposed of the Cleveland Indians, who were a pretty solid team in their own right, and Houston just put them down fairly quickly and just outmuscled them all 3 games. And we have the Boston Red Sox coming off a Game 4 win over the New York Yankees, which, I'll even say I thought I was going to expect a better performance from the Yankees, and I didn't expect the Red Sox to perform as well as they did, given their recent postseason history. But I was proven wrong on both ends, and I'll give way to Alex to explain his frustrations with the Yankees. Alex, go ahead.
Before I get on my soapbox, Mike Clevenger and Robert Flores are awesome. Just because of, I don't know if you guys heard about their drama.
The Indian pitcher and the guy from MLB Network.
Yeah. Robert Flores, the guy from MLB Network. He said some stuff about, Robert Flores is a diehard Astros fan and just kind of said some stuff on Twitter that Clevenger didn't like, and he called him like a teenage girl. It was just, yeah. If anybody's got some free time, I definitely suggest it's something you should look into. Kind of funny just to see. Anyway, the series was over when we lost 16-1. I think that was just. I look. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't watch Game 4. I didn't watch Game 4 because I knew it was our funeral. John's face is looking at me like, but it is. I mean, you can't lose 16-1 and then expect to win a series. So, bullpen was beat up. Starting pitching was atrocious, and our bats decided not to show up. I mean, outside of Game 2. So. Yeah, it is what it is. Yankees fans Yankee Nation out there, I guess, is. I mean, I don't know. You just be smart about it. I hated. I'm going to be honest with you. I hated the move that as Kimbrel was coming in the 9th inning, somebody threw a beer at him. That's disgusting. Stop that crap. That's not okay. And I understand that it's Boston, but. Dude, get over it. Like, it's playoff baseball. You're gonna lose these series. So that's really all I have about the Yankees. I think it's gonna be. Think we may have an off-season acquisition or two that we may make. I think I said this on the show before, but I have a feeling that for some reason Giancarlo Stanton isn't going to be a Yankee much longer. I know, John. I know. I just think that he may get traded, and that makes room for my boy Bryce.
All right, let's deconstruct this a little bit. So, I would have to start with, I don't think you'll be able to move Giancarlo at getting over almost $25 million a year now for the next 8-9 years, I believe. I'll have to double check.
I think he's got 7 left.
a considerable amount of years with a lot of money left. So I don't think he's going to be moving anywhere anytime soon. But
the only place he could move would be to the Dodgers, and
the Angels.
That's about it money wise. There's not really any other team that can afford him other than the Dodgers and maybe Boston and maybe Chicago. But the Yankees will not trade with Boston, and Chicago. That's probably if Chicago wanted to spend money, they would go after either Machado or Harper. So I don't know unless they completely eat up all the money the Yankees do, and I feel like they've been a lot smarter with their money lately. I think Stanton stays.
I think the move for the Yankees, though, is, and, I say this, kind of like half serious, but what more can they really do with Gary Sanchez at this point? This was a very frustrating season. I know catchers are hard to come by that hit as good as Gary does, but this was a very, very underwhelming season, for the expectations that Sanchez was given. And yes, he was hurt at times, but he just never really came through for when the Yankees needed him. And kind of a microcosm was that deep fly ball in the bottom of the ninth that just falls a few feet short of the wall. Like, if you want to sum up his season with the Yankees, I kind of look at that one play. That's just me kind of throwing my 2 cents into what acquisitions need to be made. Yes, I do think there'll be players from Machado, and I think they'll make a phone call on Bryce. Brian Cashman, bless his heart for what he's done for the Yankees, but patience is going to be running pretty thin here with the Bronx. You look at a 100-win team. This was a good season by normal team measures, but that's the thing. The Yankees are not a normal team by any means. Judge, yeah, he misses time again, but he puts the team on his back for all intensive purposes. But I say this jokingly, but he plays at New York after game 2, and it just wakes up the Red Sox, and they get ran over for the next 2 games. So, I think the Yankees need a kind of reality check to kind of, wake up and realize they haven't won anything now for what's going to be 10 years going into next season. So let's see if something actually does change this time around, because, this is not a dynasty right now. This has been a team that's kind of, failed to live up to the expectations of its already ridiculous fan base and what they expect from them. The last point I want to make, Aaron Boone, I think he dropped the ball this series. It's fair to say Alex Cora was managing circles around him at times, and yeah, maybe you get lucky with some moves with Cora putting in Brock Holt for game 3, who ends up hitting for the cycle. I don't know if this is Boone's fault or not, but apparently there was a disaster in game 3 where half the team didn't even know what time the game started. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's an institutional problem. With all that being said, though, I think the Yankees will be just fine. They just happen to be in the division with a 108-win team. The Yankee fans shouldn't feel bad about this season. Yeah, you just happen to get the wrong matchup. So I think they'll be fine going forward and stop acting like Bronx animals. But then again, Bronx has got a Bronx.
So on the Yankees point with Gary Sanchez, if Gary Sanchez adamantly wants to be a catcher, he can't catch more than once a week. He needs to catch once a week, and he needs to play the other 3 to 4 games as a DH. That'll give him how long is the season? It's April to November, so like 4 or 5 months. Four times. So what? He's gonna catch 30 games if he catches once a week, thereabouts. He shouldn't catch more than 30 games. Should catch 30 games, DH 100 games. I wouldn't look if he can't pick a ball as a catcher. I would not put him at first base and have him pick balls as a first baseman either. So he's lucky he's in the American League and he should be a DH for 100 games. Now with the Yankees being in a division with a 100-win team, I really hope that they don't just start throwing money at everybody that's available, because there's a lot of young players on that team. So say if they go after a Manny Machado, right? Maybe, yeah, you play him at short and Didi's gone, sure. And then, you got Glaber at second. You have Andujar at third. Those those two guys, Andujar and Gleyber Torres, are going to be top 3 in the Rookie of the Year voting. You don't want to give up on those two guys. So it would be Didi as the odd man out. So I don't know if I see Didi or Manny Machado playing first. So, and with Bryce Harper and signing Bryce Harper and playing him at center or playing Giancarlo Stanton or Judge as DH, even though that should be Gary Sanchez's spot, I wouldn't do that either. I've seen Bryce Harper play center a lot in Washington because of the necessity where they had to put Eaton in right and they had to put Juan Soto in left. I saw Bryce Harper let Javi Baez score from first on a single right at Bryce Harper. So like I don't know how good Bryce Harper is as a center fielder, but I know he's if we go like from a baseline 0 to 100, he's probably in the negatives as a center fielder metric wise. That's just from eye test. Like I wouldn't sign Harper or Machado. I would focus everything on pitching. If Kershaw is a free agent, I'd throw the house at Kershaw. If he's a free agent, I try to kick the tires on Max Scherzer. I go after Patrick Corbin, who I was impressed by the couple of starts that I've seen from him. I 100% go after pitching, and I still try to stabilize the bullpen as much as possible. Britton's a free agent. I don't know if you bring Britton back. Chapman has had his up and downs. Dylan Betances stopped walking people this year, so it's a big plus. Robertson's still there. They got to fix Conley. Get more bullpen arms and another starter, and they'll be just fine.
I think they will be fine. They were, like I said, just some frustrating games. You have Luis Severino, who's absolutely lights out in the wild card game, but then he falls apart in Game 3 and at home. So I think the Yankees just need to kind of take a deep breath and just be smart with their moves. Don't just try and spend their way back into contention because they do have the right pieces here. That's all I really got left on the Yankees. I'm happy to see him go home. That team did scare me, but for the team that actually did move on, the Boston Red Sox, they clutched up. They were able to shake off a bad Game 2 loss, went on and won 2 games in the Bronx, not an easy place to play, and now they'll be hosting the Houston Astros. Big question is, what is the starting pitching going to look like? Right now, it's Chris Sale penciled in for Game 1, David Price Game 2, Nathan Eovaldi Game 3, and then Rick Porcello Game 4. We saw Chris Sale come out in relief in the 8th inning of Game 4. Still some questions, though, about how much his shoulder and arm is holding up. The velocity still isn't quite there yet. He is only reaching mid-90s where he normally throws in the higher 90s. David Price, those playoff demons are still alive and well in my eyes. Right now he's 0-9, and I believe his postseason ERA is still north of 6. So hard-pressed to really get confident in his starts here, but he's still one of your better pitchers. You got to ride with him, and I think it was smart for Alex Cora to give him the start at home. Nathan Eovaldi throws a playoff gem. I mean, who would have saw that coming a few seasons ago? Then lastly, like I said, Rick Porcello, who knows what you're really going to get out of him. But you look at the other side, that Astros rotation, I believe, is
Verlander, Cole, 1-2.
Not only just that, I'm just trying to think of how much better they are than the Red Sox rotation, because did Keuchel make the playoff rotation?
Yeah, Keuchel won Game 3.
Yes, and then who was there?
Well, Keuchel didn't win Game 3, but Keuchel pitched Game 3.
I'm trying to think. Well, then who's their other star they have waiting?
The Charlie Morton.
Okay, so even then, that Astros 1 through 4, I think, is formidable to shut down the Red Sox lineup. And I look at what the Astros were able to do, not only to a good Indians team, but this is pretty much the same core that they ran back from last year. And what I had mentioned in my and Alex's preview episode was the winner of the Indians and Astros series was going to go on to represent the American League.
Did you guys mention that? I tweeted that. I haven't talked to you guys. I haven't talked to you guys since the start of that, but I did tweet that I thought the winner of Astros and the Indians were going to go to the World Series. On the Red Sox front, Chris Sale pitched an inning on the 9th, Tuesday. The playoff games is Saturday, so he's 1, 2, 3, 3 days rest. But even though he did throw an inning, that's more like a he's pitching on the 4th day, so he's not getting 4 days rest. He's getting like 3 1/4.
Yeah.
But he threw an inning, so that pretty much counts as like a bullpen session. So I think he should be fine to go game 1. Now, if he has to go game 4, or he has
Yes, maybe. Rob?
I think we lost Rob.
We might have lost Rob, so we're just going to fill in the blanks for right now. If Sale does have to go another game 4, you're just looking at more potential harm to his pitching shoulder. The proof is in the pudding that his arm was shut down towards the second half of the season. And, like I said, it didn't really bring his A+ stuff back. Like, yeah, we did have Sale and everything, but
Rob's back.
Oh, Rob, you good?
Rob's back.
Okay, so like you're saying, Sale's arm.
Technical issues. So like cut off, and
we just kind of filled in the point that for as good as Sale is, if he's forced to pitch, on a much more condensed schedule after taking most of the summer off, I don't know how much you can trust it. And that's where I think the Astros have the advantage in this series, is their pitching can outmuscle the Red Sox. And we haven't even gotten to the lineups yet, to where I think it's almost a wash in some places. Yeah, the Red Sox have the written in MVP right now with Mookie Betts. His runner-up is going to be JD Martinez, but I think the Astros have just as capable guys with Bregman, Correa, Altuve. Those 3 right there, I think, can give any lineup a run for their money. So it's going to be the depth guys, the bottom of the order guys. Like, we haven't seen much from Benintendi. We saw some better performance out of him in the Yankee series, but he still hasn't really put it together quite yet. And then you look at, for the Red Sox, you haven't got nothing out of the catcher spot outside of that Yankee Stadium home run by Christian Vasquez. First base is still a toss-up, whether it's going to be Steve Pearce or Mitch Moreland. Right now it looks like Moreland might be down. And you might have to expect Rafi Devers to play most of the series if Eduardo Nunez isn't able to go at all in this series. So right now I'm liking the Astros hitting depth a little bit more than the Red Sox.
Yeah. Hitting wise, that's kind of a wash. It really is. Last year's MVP Altuve, this year's MVP Mookie Betts. You have George Springer, who has 7 home runs in his last 7 postseason games. JD Martinez, who's been raking. Correa, your guy Bregman, who's going to finish top 5 in the MVP this year. So, yeah, offensive wise, like that's not really up to the debate. It's really just pitching. It's really what we're going to get from Boston, what we're going to get from Houston. Houston just looks stronger.
And I didn't even get to the Red bullpens. I can't even get to the Red Sox bullpen.
both bullpens are kind of scary. Scary as in they might destroy everything the starters, have done. When Joe Kelly comes out of the bullpen, like, you don't know if he's going to be locked down 100 miles per hour, belt high, nobody can hit him, or that fastball might sit a couple inches lower and, guys are teeing off. Houston hits velocity.
I was going to say, look at what Kimbrel did. Kimbrel just pretty much stopped throwing his fastball altogether in game 4 and very nearly blew it. Like, he's just throwing this junk in the dirt that no one but Giancarlo was swinging at. So it might come down to who can put up the most offenses or bullpens doesn't implode first. So my prediction,
it's really who's starter. It's really who gets the starter first. That's really what each game is going to come down to. Who's going to hit the first move.
A little side note I have right now, Sunday is scheduled to be game 2 of the Red Sox Astros series in Boston. And only a few hours later, the Patriots will kick off against the Chiefs. So Sunday is going to be a little stressful for myself.
Yeah, Mahomes about to put up 450 and 4 touchdowns.
No defense. Game with no defense. Nobody showed up.
Yeah, but Brady might drop 399 too. So.
Oh, no, it's going to be a flag football affair. So We pretty much said who's your guys' X factor in this series?
For me, it's gonna be Jose Altuve. I'm gonna say Altuve just because he's had a quiet season. But I think we saw it last year in the playoffs. He excelled. So maybe that's not like oh my gosh, Alex, that's a surprise pick, but that's my guy. That's who I'm going with.
I'm going with Carlos Correa. Another big guy because Bregman's killing it. Altuve's been solid, not MVP Altuve, but he's been solid. George Springer in the postseason is a different animal. Carlos Correa's had a rough season. Injuries have hurt him the past couple of months. He's not really been right. He's not really been the same. They've dropped him down in the order. So if the Carlos Correa that we know shows up, that lineup just gets a little bit longer, and he might be primed for a big series.
And my pun with what I was saying was X factor was I'm going with Xander Bogaerts. He's had the quietest 100 RBI season. Alex, you said it best yourself that he took a Tanaka two-seam fastball down the middle and somehow golfed it 410 feet to dead center. So Bogaerts is good to go off for a moonshot at almost any moment here. And he's had probably the quietest, slugging in RBI season I've seen in quite a while. So if he's able to take some pressure off of JD and Mookie, that could be huge for the Red Sox. So I'm going to stick with my guns on my original pick. As much as I love my Sox, I want to see them succeed. I want to see them go to the series. Just think Houston has a little bit more, and it does go with their pitching. So I'm going Houston in 7.
Houston in 5. Doesn't get back to Boston.
Screw it. I'm going Boston in 6.
All right. So with that being said, looks like we're pretty much hitting for a rematch for a consensus, which wouldn't be necessarily the worst thing, but considering how many rematches we've got in the NBA finals, I think for baseball's sake, you don't want that. I think MLB wants to do everything in their power to have LA versus Boston at least. That's 1 in 2, if not 3 for your markets. So at least it'll be a draw with stars as well as the cities themselves. God damn, if the World Series has to go through Milwaukee, that'll just be disgusting. And then if you have Milwaukee versus Boston, people are just going to talk about who's more racist than the other.
That's going to be hard. I don't know who wins that battle. Who's more racist between Milwaukee and Boston?
A lot of people love calling Boston, but yet have never been there.
Yeah, but the people that represent Boston.
Oh, I know they're pretty bad.
A lot of racist tendencies, a lot of junk out there, and you don't really have to be in Boston. It's 2018, John. It's a digital age.
I know it's
you don't really got to be in the city.
Everybody hides behind a screen or a keyboard, but you know how easy it is to say you're from somewhere, throw up a profile picture or location, whatever. Like, I just think some people listen to the narrative a little too much or take it a little too seriously. By no means am I condoning any actions, but like you said, it's 2018. I spent half of my life living in Boston. Well, actually, now it's less than half because I lived in Vegas for quite some time. But that's besides the point. Yeah, every place is going to have their bad people. I understand that, but it ain't that bad to where everyone seems to make it, out like what it really is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's good people and bad people everywhere, guys. Let's just call it what it is.
Though there was that time Jen kind of outed the family secrets in a citywide magazine and made for the most awkward family dinner I had in quite some time. So
I remember that. I was freshly there for the first time, and that was a fun time.
Sidebar story, there was that time that Alex read that family article and I was able to somehow cycle in 2 train routes and get back to him before he finished.
That is true. You made it from TD Garden to the south end of Boston in 30.
Oh, no, I didn't go to Southie. I went from the north end and I went to the other side of the north end, but because it's a little bit more convoluted to get to. Long story short, we're getting way off topic here. So that's something I'm proud of. For the love of God, I hope it doesn't come down to Milwaukee because it's Milwaukee.
Yeah, for sure. Is that it, guys? Is that all we have for the?
I mean, that's pretty much what we have. We'll reconvene at the conclusion of the LCS. Any leftover baseball thoughts to this point?
The Cubs have fired their hitting coach.
Poor Chili Davis.
So Boston and Chicago have both fired Chili Davis. So if what happened this year to Boston after they fired Chili Davis happens to the Cubs next year, I will be very, very happy. Yeah, that's about it.
All I have to say is, Aaron Judge, slow your roll on the whole New York thing. That kind of made my blood boil.
Was the New York thing worse than Brian Cashman's damage quote that just immediately blew up in his face?
Comparable, but no. I think the Aaron Judge thing was more atrocious.
My problem with the Judge thing is he did that after game 2. And
you were 1-1 in the series, dude. Like, chill.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, but I don't think Aaron Judge has the credentials to pull some crap like that yet, because as great as his accolades are to this point, there's no success that kind of backs that up. Just stats.
John, he won Rookie of the Year.
Second in MVP, couple All-Stars.
But I'm talking about actual accolades to where you control your biggest rival in a division series before you've actually won anything.
So you're saying because he hasn't beat Boston, he doesn't have the clout to do that.
I would be fine with it had they, moved on, past Houston last year. It's just that I think it's kind of a wormy move if you're doing this, I'm going to get them
wormy move.
I'm 100% behind Aaron Judge playing New York, and Boston after winning game 2. 100% behind.
Are you also behind the Red Sox playing it while they're popping champagne in Yankee Stadium again?
Yeah, because
I'm okay. I mean, damn! Like, if Aaron Judge is going to do it, Boston might as well do it too. Like, come on.
Like I said, it probably pissed the Red Sox off to the point like, all right, here's a 16 spot.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, dude, slow your roll. Like, you can't. I mean, not to say that you can't be doing that, but you need to actually, like, I don't know.
I have no problems with it. The face of the Yankees is Aaron Judge right now.
No, he is the face, and
That's the face of New York, and he's playing New York after a New York win. That I have no problem with that. You shouldn't either. Like, that should not be a talking point at all.
I mean, to Judge's credit, he was the one Yankee that showed up consistently. Like, every at bat that Judge had in that series, I was terrified.
Yeah, but like I said, like, it got shoved back in our faces. So that's maybe why I'm annoyed by it now.
Well, yeah, you're annoyed because they lost, but if Craig Kimbrell couldn't shut the door game 4 and it goes to game 5 and the Yankees sneak out of game 5, and they're playing New York and Boston, you would have ate it up. Like, it's only bad because they lost the series. So I mean, if they would have won the series.
Just so we're on the topic, Alex, he can attest to this. He's went to a Red Sox game with me in Fenway. I despise Sweet Caroline,
which is weird. I love it.
It's part of the new generation. Like, they play it when they're losing, they play when they're winning. It just annoys me because it's like, oh, let's go to Fenway and sing Sweet Caroline, guys. I mean, hell, we left the Mets game before we had to be subjected to Piano Man. So,
oh, Billy Joel.
I refuse to participate in shenanigans like that. But it is on my bucket list, and Rob, we need to look into it this summer. We're going to Wrigley, and we are joining in on that 7th inning stretch.
I mean,
7th inning stretch as well as Cold Cups go at the end of the game.
Okay. I don't know if this is a hot take, but "Go Cubs Go" is an extremely catchy song, and I listen to it on the regular.
Well, I heard it 94 times. Well, not 94 times. How many home games did they win? I've seen most of the home games. So 40 some odd, 46, 47 times this season, I'm guessing.
I will say this. I better be invited to this plan because I've got an office in Chicago. I can work from the Chicago office.
It's
the game
It's
in the
on the summer. It's on the summer bucket list. Flights to Chicago, I know, aren't ridiculously expensive, and there's plenty to do in the city. There's plenty of shenanigans to get into, and then we can go risk our lives and go to Guaranteed Rate Field or whatever they call it on the other side of the city. So,
U.S. Cellular?
No, it's called Guaranteed Rate Field now.
Oh, it is guaranteed. Oh, wow.
Comiskey.
Old Comiskey.
Old.
Well, regardless, after seeing Alex's photos of what Wrigley looks like on a regular basis, I need to go to one of the cathedrals of baseball. It's one of the original ballparks I haven't been to. I've seen old Yankee Stadium. I flipped off new Yankee Stadium, so got to go see the friendly confines.
Yeah, we'll make a trip. Go see Bryce Harper hitting bombs.
Deal.
Are we watching them play the Nationals?
No.
Oh.
Bryce Harper, KB back to back.
I will buy a John Lester jersey. I miss you, Johnny.
Oh man.
Can you imagine if they would have gave John Lester David Price money and it's like Sale and Lester back to back, game 1 and 2?
No, instead they lowballed him, gave him 4 for $70, and I do not blame John Lester one bit for saying no to that offer and going to Chicago and helping them win a title. I will always be 110%.
5 for 140.
No, it was absolutely absurd. Like, you can ask Alex. Like, I was distraught the morning they trade him to the A's. Like, that was the one guy you don't trade. They got Yoenis Cespedes for a couple of months, but then you move it. Getting flustered again. I'm sorry. But no, John Lester always did the right thing, and he can never do wrong in my book. Okay, we got to put a bow on this. Is that it, fellas?
That's it. The Yankee season.
Lastly, I know I picked the Astros, but please, Sox, prove me wrong once again. Pulling for you guys. Hoping for a great Sunday night. Let's take care of the Chiefs. Let's take care of the Astros. Let's make it a good weekend. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to the Bleacher Preacher podcast. Alex, I know that's a disgusted look because Eli is washed up. You can follow the show on Twitter at Bleacher Preacher Pod. We're also on Instagram at Bleacher Preacher Podcast as well. You can subscribe and listen to the show via the iTunes Store, Google Play, SoundCloud, Stitcher, any podcast listening app besides Spotify. Alex is on Twitter at Roncal33BPP.
That's right.
And then Rob, go and plug
Rob_BPP. Boston wins game 1. Houston goes 4-0 on the trot to close the series out.
And that is all the time we have for today. We will be looking to hear back from you guys pretty soon and be on the lookout for some new episodes. We got football kicking into gear. Basketball's right around the corner. If anything shenanigans happen in the near future, be sure to, see if anything emergency drops by. I believe Jimmy Butler is now one comment away from actually beating up the rest of his teammates, so that should be pretty fun. Thank you guys for tuning in, and have a wonderful weekend.
Bye, everyone.
Peace.